Kitios. I'm your senior class president, and along with Kieran Carpin, your student union president, will be emceeing for you guys today. First off, let's give another applause for our chorus, Miss Hall. Y'all did a great job. Thank you, Ms. Zhang, administrators, students, faculty, and distinguished guests. If you could all just hold on for one brief moment. Okay, thank you for your patience. I thought we should leave some time for those students who overslept this morning to make their way into the theater. You see, about a dozen AP English students were up late last night finishing their senior portrait essays at the last minute in true Stuyvesant fashion. Students, please pass up your assignments to the front of the stage, and I'll hand them to Mr. Grossman after he finishes his speech. The Stuyvesant class of 2015 is finally graduating. Can you believe it? I know we all think we're really cool now at the top of the proverbial food chain. And look, the truth is that today, we deserve to feel this way. We made it through thick and thin in 2015, from music appreciation, to the SATs, to even junior sing. And just like that, in 2 short months, most of us will be off in a new place with new experiences and new people. And that's exciting. The other 400 students are probably going to the University of Chicago. In all seriousness, looking back on these last 4 years, I couldn't be more proud to call this amazing group of 811 people my peers. No, we didn't get much sleep. But what we lack in sleep, we make up for with intellectual desire, academic passion, and Starbucks coffee. Yep, in the city that never sleeps, we found the high school that never sleeps. And to be honest, that's okay. Because this class is too busy living its dreams awake in real life than to sleep all night. We put 4 years of dedication into our schoolwork, our clubs and pubs, our side projects, our sports teams, math teams, robotics teams, and our friendships. 2015, you produced over 80 National Merit finalists, 2 Intel semifinalists, a #1 nationally ranked debate team, and even the alleged Wolf of Chambers Street. Throughout the course of a typical day at Sty, you can find students working on anything from linear algebra before first period, debating political instability in the Middle East 5th period, playing endless hours of chess and Super Smash Brothers in the student union after school, and making choreography for next month's Sing musical before finally taking the 7 train home to Queens at 7 p.m. Seniors at Stuyvesant aren't just waiting for opportunities to do what they love, they are creating them. And that's why I tell people I go to the greatest high school in the country. Of course, nobody said this way of living is easy. Nobody knows stress better than we do, and in most cases, that's probably the result of our own action or inaction. Doing what you love and finding your passion is one thing, but please, keep a healthy lifestyle. Now that high school is over, slow down and enjoy the simple things in life. Who knows how many birthdays, friendships, concerts, and special moments we've missed in the process. It's okay. Hindsight is 20/20. Learn from your mistakes, missed chances and mishaps, and use them to make your life even better today. In the words of one of my most memorable teachers at Stuyvesant, you may not know all the answers, but use your best knowledge and imagination. One of my favorite movies growing up was the 1986 classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Great movie, right? Interestingly enough, 1986 was the year that my dad graduated high school. Sorry, Dad, if I just told everybody how old you are. Love you guys, and Mom and Yanni, and thank you for making me the man I am today. They did okay. Anyway, one of my favorite quotes from the movie is a part where the main character, Ferris, a charismatic, confident second-term senior playing hooky one day, narrates some words of encouragement appropriate for anyone dealing with life's daily stresses. He said, and I quote, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." And while I'm not sure what Ferris had in mind with this quote, I'm very glad to introduce someone who not only looks around once in a while, but makes it his life's work to share his view, the images and stories of everyday humans of New York with millions of people each day. He started with the camera, taking photos of the picturesque city of Chicago as a hobby while working as a bond trader. After losing his job in 2010, he changed the course of his life in a way that Ferris would probably approve of. In 2010, this bond trader turned photographer, turned human to our town of New York, decided to make his passion his life's work while taking the time to notice the little things in his life. I think we can learn a thing or two from this guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to introduce to you this year's keynote speaker, the creator of Humans of New York, Mr. Brandon Stanton.
Experience from talking to thousands of people at the same time. So you guys will have to forgive me if I'm a little nervous. I actually even have a track record of getting so nervous one time during a speech that I actually stopped. And there's actually a protocol if that happens. You guys just like clap for me like I'm a fifth grader in a talent show. Terrifying. Just like looking down at you guys. And before I start, I want to tell you guys about a little subplot that was going on today that was just fascinating that nobody else noticed except for me. During the national anthem, all right, the guy who was singing the national anthem had a fly that was just landing on his forehead, landing on his nose. What I witnessed was one of the most epic battles of man versus nature I have ever seen. He did not lose his composure once. So let's give him a hand. So I've already told you guys that I get nervous before these things. And yesterday, complete coincidence, because I'm so disorganized I didn't even know where I was speaking until this morning. Well, I knew I was speaking to you guys, I just didn't know where. I happened to be up here photographing, and Bronx Science was graduating. They were all pouring out, right? And so, I kind of like, I leaned in, so I knew I was giving the commencement speech for you guys. And I said, so who gave you guys the commencement speech? They go, oh, Bill Nye, the science guy. I'm like, oh man, then I really started to feel pressure. Because, you know, he was up here like doing science tricks and stuff and just absolutely killing it. So that made me even more nervous. But here we go. 5 years ago, I was working as a bond trader in Chicago, as George said. And things started going poorly. I wasn't doing well at work. I was getting really stressed out. I was spending all my time just thinking, how do I keep this job? You know, I was losing money every day. I knew you can't lose money every single day. And keep being a bond trader, you know, what we've been taught kind of stopped working. And so I spent all my time just kind of obsessively thinking about the markets, what can I do differently? And I was so terrified about losing that job. And then one day it happened, almost exactly, it was late June, it was like right before July 4th weekend 5 years ago. So almost exactly 5 years ago I lost my job. And I was so terrified it happened. And then when it happened, I had a realization that for the last 2 years, all my thought energy and all my time had been going into making money. I was actually was trading U.S. securities. Like, I was actually trading money to make money. And it wasn't that I was a money-hungry person. I had this narrative in my head that I'm going to make my money, then I'm going to do what I want to do. You know, I want to make, if I can make my money and then finance a film and have the freedom to do what I want to do. Or I can make my money and then I can be a photographer, which I hadn't even started photographing then, so I didn't really do that. And during that 2 years, I just had spent all my thought energy focusing on how to make money. And when I lost my job, I looked back and I said, you know, the whole game plan was to make money and then do something I love. But 2 years of my life just passed by, and I've done nothing to think about money, think about markets. And I made a decision at that moment that just completely changed my life. And I said, for the next 2 years, not for the next 2 years, I didn't have that much money. I was getting like $600 a month unemployment. I was like, okay, for the next few weeks or the next few months, I'm going to do something for no other reason, just because I love it. I'm going to focus on time instead of money. And I'm not going to do a thing with my time unless it's really what I love to do. And so I'd only been photographing. It's not that bad of a story. So I'd actually just started photographing a couple weeks earlier to kind of relieve the stress from the work. I would go out on the weekends and I would just kind of photograph scenes in downtown Chicago. But I know I really enjoyed it. It was like a treasure hunt to me. And so when I lost my job, you know, I decided I'm going to be a photographer. That's what I'm going to do because I love it. And my goal was to just kind of travel around to a few different cities and do street photography. And in the process of doing that, I kind of stumbled on a type of photography where I took pictures of people. I remember the very first time that I took a photo of a person. It was on the subway in Chicago. And it was just two kids. And they didn't know each other, but they were both looking up at something. And they had the exact same look of wonderment on their face. And I remember how scared I was. I remember how scared I was because I didn't know if you could take pictures of strangers. Is that even allowed? Like, that's kind of weird, right? Kids, yikes, you know? But it was such a great image. I mean, I was so nervous and I was so comfortable now approaching people. I have to like pinch myself and remind myself how scared I was at first. And so I got all my courage and I kind of lifted up that camera and I snapped the shot. And that was the first photo I ever took of a person. And I looked down at it and I realized, you know what? I've only been photographing for about 2 months now. But because I was able to get over that fear, if I just took a picture, the people who've been photographing for decades might not be able to take. Because I got over that fear. And then I realized, you know, there's something I have to offer to the world of photography, even though I've only been doing it for a couple months. I can get over that fear even more. And I can approach people. And I can take portraits of them. And then later on, it was I can get over that fear even more. And I can find out about these people's stories. And so the whole process of Humans of New York was me figuring out what it was that I could do differently. And then once I figured that out, just focusing on it and doing nothing with that. It went from pictures of everything to pictures of people. You know, it took a little bit more courage to stop people on the street and ask them. So it went from pictures of people to portraits of people that I stopped on the street. From portraits of people I stopped on the street to, you know what, I've already got over that fear to talk to them, to portraits of people where I found out and added little quotes to their stories. Until now, I interview people for about 15 or 20 minutes, and I find out really deep stories about their lives. And every time I recentered my focus on what the one thing I was doing, because I got over that fear that was different than anybody else, every time I focused that, Humans in New York got more and more different. Because the circle of people who were scared to do what I did got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it grew faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. Yeah, I remember I've been in New York, and when I moved, I could not talk about this, without getting emotional. Because when I moved to New York, like everybody thought it was like a crazy idea. I was talking, I ran into Teo on the subway up here, and he sat across from me. And I said, hold on, I gotta write my speech, and I was like done in 30 seconds. I've only got 3 lines. If I hit a wall, we're screwed. We kind of started talking, and I was telling him, why it's so hard to do something new. Why it's so hard to be an entrepreneur or create something big. And it's because the growth chart never looks like this. It's not linear. The growth chart never looks like this. You have to work so hard every single day before anybody cares and before anybody's paying attention. And your family, your friends, they judge success of something based on results, not hard work. So you're going to be working for months and months on your crazy idea, and there's not going to be anything to show for it. People are going to start saying, what's Taylor doing with his life? What's Brandon doing with his life? He's in New York taking pictures of people, putting it on Facebook. That guy's crazy. He lost it, That's what it was. And, my mom is very supportive today. But I was photographing full-time for a year, and she viewed it as being unemployed. And she was so disappointed in my decisions that I couldn't even call home and talk with her about it because it was so awkward, So when I called home, all we would talk about is like the weather and stuff like that. And, I remember one time she was telling me, I'm in New York, I've got no money, I'm seriously eating 2 meals a day because I'm just so devoted to this idea. This is why I started something so hard. Because if the growth chart looks like this is such a hard and learning period. And I was right in the middle of it. I'd been in New York for about 6 months, and I was starving, and nobody was really paying attention. I'd taken thousands of portraits so far. And, I remember I had a conversation with her. My brother had just bought a house. And I said, wow, he's, at a different point in his life than me right now. And she said, no, he's at a regular point, you're at a different point. But it wasn't, and she's apologizing, she sees it now, But, that's the kind of stuff you're going to have to get past if you want to create something new. Because, for the longest time, before you have 15 million Facebook fans and a book that's been on the bestseller list for 45 weeks, for the longest time, you're going to have to be your only fan. You'll have some friends that can kind of support you, but nowhere near the support you're going to need to do the work you're going to need to do to start something new, do something big.
That is good.
So you really gotta know what you love about your work. And you always gotta look at your work very carefully and say, how can I love it more? Because it's hard. When you're not getting feedback, it's hard to keep pushing yourself. But you always gotta look at your work and you gotta say, how can I like it more? Not how can I make it more famous? Not how can I make it sell more? If it's your product, how can I make it like it? How can I make myself like it? And then basically you're going to get a little bit better. Growth chart, remember? You're going to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and then you're going to reach that tipping point where you've asked yourself so many times, how can I make myself like this more? That you're going to find somebody else out there who likes it now too. And then 3 people a day, then 10 people a day, I put on 30,000 Facebook fans yesterday. All from just focusing on the work and saying, how can I like myself? How can I make it so I like it more? And if there's 2 lessons that, kind of looking back, I want to put upon you guys. First, I gotta back up even a little bit more. I normally, when I speak at colleges, or I speak to adults, I kind of start the story when I lost my job. But in reality, when I was your guys' age, I was lost. I was doing so many drugs. It's my story,
Oh no.
And I went to college, and here's why. And you guys are going to be in danger of this, because I tested so high and thought I didn't need to work hard. I thought I was going to just hatch an idea that was going to change the world, or think of a company that changed the world, or something like that. And I thought I was too good to do these assignments and do all this stuff. not related to what I'm going to do in the world. And so, you know, I flunked out of school. I went to community college. And then, instead of sitting around trying to think about big ideas, at the age of 21, I decided that I was going to read 100 pages a day of nonfiction. I read 100 pages a day of nonfiction from the age of 21 to the age of 28 when I just got too busy that I couldn't keep it up. Even when I went back to the University of Georgia, and it's funny because they dressed me in these colors, I didn't actually go to my graduation. So this is the first time I actually have worn the University of Georgia graduation. Yeah. So even when I went back to the University of Georgia, I got straight A's when I went back. After I went to community college, I was still reading my 100 pages a day, nonfiction every single day. And what I've redone is I've reoriented my life to focus on big ideas and my innate ability. Because I'm smart, I'm going to have a big idea to work. I'm going to pride myself not on my natural intelligence, not on my talents, but the amount of work I can do. And I'm going to work harder than anybody else. From the age of 21, I made that switch and it's completely changed my life. And it's an okay thing to brag about. It's an okay thing to be proud about. Because it's not hard work, it's not a privilege. You can be born with good looks, that's a privilege. You can be born with great intelligence and high test scores, that's a privilege. But everybody has the ability to work hard. So that's the one thing you can be arrogant about and be proud about without being an absolute boastful ass. Because everybody has the opportunity, equal opportunity to work hard. And so, you know, as I was going and as I was doing homing and as I was building homing, I didn't focus on making homing something huge and something famous. I focused on going out there and working every single day. I was going to go out there and I was going to take 5 portraits every single day, no matter what. And I did that for years. And I just focused on the work. And it wasn't the result of some big idea. I didn't move to New York and say, I'm going to start this huge blog telling people stories. I said, I'm going to move to New York, I'm going to photograph people every single day. And then by working every single day, I made tons of small evolutions, until where I got the idea that I have today, which is telling stories of ordinary people on the street. Which leads to my last lesson, which is you have to start something before you're ready. You have to start, if you want to do something big, you have to start before you're ready. Because when I started the road that brought me here today, I've only been photographing for 3 weeks. But I figured it out on the path. And it's so comfortable to prepare. If you want to write the best-selling, a great American novel, it's so comfortable to sit with your journal and make character outlines and plot outlines, right? It's so comfortable to think and prepare because then you can't fail. And what you'll find is if you get in that mindset of I'll start when I'm ready, you'll never get there. You will never get there. So what you have to do is if you want to do something huge, you have to start before you're ready. You have to trust in yourself to figure it out along the way. Because what will happen is you will become the person that you need to be to do the thing that you want to do while you're doing it. You'll never become that person before you start. So in addition to focusing on the work, it's what I always say, it's just don't wait for perfect. You got to start something before you're ready. And, you know, out of this amazing journey that I've been on, I look back and I think, you know, those are the 2 things that I think most translate to where you guys are at your stage of life. And thank you so much for having me, and I hope I learned something.
Thank you, Brendan, for taking the time out of your schedule to come down here and speak to our graduates. Your work has inspired a number of students at Stuyvesant. Your work has inspired a number of students at Stuyvesant to inquire about the humans around them and the stories they have to share. On the behalf of the senior class, we would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation from our 2 photo organizations, Humans of Stuyvesant, as well as Snapshots of Stuyvesant. Guys? How exciting was that, huh? Now, I don't really know if we can top that, but we're gonna try. Next up to speak is someone who, although isn't a photographic genius, he can take a pretty mean selfie. My first encounter with this person was during my first election for sophomore caucus, where we were opponents. Although George and I narrowly won, I could tell this person was destined for great things, and that he had a lot to contribute to Stuyvesant. Today, I'm proud to call this person one of my best friends, and your student union president, Kieran Carpin.
That's all I was here for. Thank you very much, George. Did not print out my speech, so technology. So good afternoon. My name is Student Union President, and I am the Kieran Carpin. Sorry, I had my paper upside down again. My teachers really should give me a boost on each of my classes, because that happens too often. So let's start again. Good afternoon. My name is Kieran Carpin, and I'm the Student Union President. And it's been a pleasure serving you this year. So immediately upon being told that I was to give a short 3 to 5 minute speech, it was in my nature to want to stand out. So as my great mentor, Oprah Winfrey, would say, please check under your seats, you guys all have a brand new car. Okay, not actually, I don't want my parents to be bankrupt. But, well, on a more serious note, and I'm keeping this very brief, I did want to say something unique, but yet concise. So I have 2 things to say. First, I just want to say thank you, and I really want to emphasize what Ms. Zhang was speaking about earlier, about gratitude and having gratitude. And there's just so many people to thank in so little time that I have. So I just want to say thank you, and as a class promise, something that stood out to me during my Ultimate Frisbee team dinner is that one of the juniors on the team, he said, we had approximately half of our 18 class graduating, and what he had said to us is, with tears coming down his eyes, because we really formed a brotherhood, he said that no matter what happens, and although half the team is leaving, I want to ensure that when you guys look back on this team, we will be something that you're proud of. And to all the people that have helped us get here, to all the people that have been through our tears, through our stress, I hope that you guys can make the promise that I will also make to those people, that I promise that we will be something that, and be people that people will be proud of. So I hope that you guys can join me on that promise. And lastly, I leave you with a quote that my good friend Shimei Osipov had written down in my notebook. He said, and I have no idea where this quote comes from, he said, imagination is for turbo nerds who can't handle how kick-butt reality is. And what I extrapolated from that, and I'll just speak about that briefly, is that I want you to all realize that the tools that we have been equipped with allows us to see our aspirations come into fruition. And I really hope that we can all take that with us and realize that it's no longer just childhood dreams or imaginations, that we are fully equipped to achieve what we want to achieve. So, without further ado, this is totally different gears, this is no longer my speech, but there is a clear hierarchy of rarity in students in Stuyvesant High School. At the lowest echelon, we have students who are really, really smart, which unsurprisingly is composed of all 811 of you. The next level consists of extremely gifted and hardworking students who actually had a chance at being honored here on stage as representative of academic excellence, which only includes about 4 students. So yeah, that escalated very quickly, but you know. Then there's the highest point in Kieran's hierarchical guide to Stuyvesant High School, which consists of the only student who could solve intensely challenging calculus problems on a sheet of paper that he'll later roll up into a stick and fence with. The only student who remains so gregarious yet focused in your AP Physics B class that he absolutely destroys the class curve on every test, and he is to blame for all of our low AP Physics grades. And lastly, the only student whom I have had the pleasure of calling my great friend for 4 years, and fortunately my friend and classmate for the next 4 years. So ladies and gentlemen, in the class of 2015, I have the esteemed honor of introducing our, I cannot pronounce this word, salutatorian? Ryan Supasika.
I'd like to apologize to Karen for lowering the average window. Heard of that? Hi everyone. I'm thrilled and honored to speak with all of you today. I'd like to begin by thanking Principal Zhang and all of the administration for allowing the school to run smoothly and generally stay in one piece. Also, a big thank you to Ms. Pedrick and all of the guidance counselors, especially Ms. Mahoney, my guidance counselor. You guys have really helped us through this puzzling journey that turns out is high school life. A special thank you to my family. I'm really fortunate to have the audience, my parents, my grandparents, and my sister. You guys are the best, and I really appreciate all of your love, support, and insight throughout my life. Next, I'd like to thank all of the teachers who come in each and every day really excited and passionate to share all of their knowledge and insight with each of us. In particular, Mr. Kokoros, Mr. Shankar, Mr. Smansky, really the entire math and CS community is very collaborative and supportive in a way that uniquely facilitates learning, productivity, and growth. So I thank all of you. When Mr. Kokoros began his pre-calculus class in junior year, he spoke about a theme that transcended many of his lessons, that something complicated becomes simpler and easier to deal with when viewed in a different light. In math class, this meant using polar coordinates or rotating a parabola. But I feel that lesson is really applicable to life. The right perspective can be the difference between a loss and gain, between a failure and a lesson learned. And I think that you can see that in our perspective of this very day, graduation. Since we began high school 4 years ago, I feel that as though there's been a certain eagerness to get through it. We sort of assumed that everything exciting and meaningful happens at the end of it, and this was just some tunnel that we needed to go through to get there. But over the past few weeks, as we began to reflect on our time here, I think we've realized that it's really been great, and we're really going to miss this place. Before, 40-minute classes could have gone on for hours, but once I could actually count the number of times that I would be in a classroom ever again, I really was disappointed when the end bell rang each period. I wish that I had this perspective before, and I hope that all of you maintain that mindset later. Appreciate what you do, and never let your excitement for the future cloud your enjoyment of the present. Another lesson that I've come across in the last 4 years is the importance and the value of keeping an open mind. Stuyvesant is full of things to do, from sports to clubs, student council, honor society, and of course sing, which we made incredible this year. All of these things exist because creative, open-minded individuals began them, and new minds keep them going each and every year. For me, this has been apparent in the math team, where I learned problem-solving strategies, where I learned that the basics are the foundation of growth. And I learned what it really means to be on a team. And the math team is made possible by coaches and students who go out of their way to organize and contribute to it. So be proactive, try new things, but also open some new doors for yourselves and for everyone else after you. Speaking of opening doors, most opportunities that we've taken advantage of were really made possible by others, and I think it's important to recognize that. And I can think of no better example at Stuyvesant than the Big Sibs program. When I first walked into Stuyvesant, I felt trapped inside a crowd of unfamiliar students. That's all of you guys today. And I was confused and had no idea where to go, until an upperclassman in a red "Where the Wild Things Are" shirt came up to me. And seeing that shirt reminded me of the Big Sib handbook that we received 4 years ago at Camp Stuyvesant. And on the back of that handbook, yes, I still have it. And on the back of this handbook are our Big Sibs parting words. From all around and far away, the Big Sibs are here to make your name. Just be yourself and you'll go far. This is the school where the wild things are. And true to that sentiment, not the wild part, the thing about support, inspiration and stuff. True to that sentiment, my big sib helped me find my home. It may not seem like much, but that little helpful act and countless others like it really are what make me appreciate Stuyvesant's culture. And since then, I knew that I wanted to be a big sib, and 3 years later, I was fortunate enough to join many of you and become one. Yes. Retrospectively, I have to say that being a big sib and having the opportunity to assist all the little sibs and getting used to high school has been more enjoyable and rewarding than being a little sib myself. So I suppose the lesson there is the value and personal satisfaction in paying it forward, in recognizing others' tangible and positive effect on me, and making a sincere effort to have the same positive effect on others. I think it's that attitude that allows such amazing things and people to come out of Stuyvesant every year. It's remarkable, really, to 811 of us squeeze us into a building for 4 years, and you get something truly incredible, like magic. Magic. When I first came here, I thought that Sty was magic. The whole building must be magical, in part because I just couldn't put my finger on what actually made Stuyvesant so great. At first, I figured it had to be great because everyone said so. And then when we were finally let inside the building for the first time, and I was being squished by the nervous crowd of strangers that over 4 years had become all of you, and we were being herded through the halls, gray walls, and ugly green doors. I understood what made Stuyvesant so great. Everything was so big. Think about it. The people were taller than in middle school. There were high ceilings. And what about those grand marble stairs that lead to that weird platform thing between the first and the second floor? They're all just so big. Of course, this is a place of growth. And as I grew, it became increasingly clear that I was totally off, completely wrong. Sty isn't great because it's a bundle of nerves, and its power doesn't come from some self-assumed grandeur and splendor. And I hate to break it to you guys, us being taller than 8th graders is just a coincidence. That building on Chambers Street isn't really magical. In hindsight, I guess it's obvious that it's the people. Teachers who are so passionate about their subjects and about teaching that they make a lot of us passionate about them as well. And all of our friends and classmates, my closest friends, Anna, Andrew, Annalise, Alan, and those wonderful people whose name does not start with an A. You've truly made each day at Sty a joyful adventure. In fact, I'd like to thank every senior in the audience today, whether I've come to know you personally or not, for just being your awesome self. Thank you all for being a vibrant community of intelligent, thoughtful, and supportive people, ready and able to better yourselves and everyone around us. Writer Roald Dahl once said that those who don't believe in magic will never find it. Well, 4 years ago, I came here looking for magic, and if I found it, then today I would be disappointed. Because magic can make fairies fly and cards disappear. But what we have here, we've built ourselves, out of busy schedules, long nights, and a bright perspective. And that's an accomplishment more special than magic. So thank you all, and congratulations to each and every member of the class of 2015.
Thank you, Ryan. Stuyvesant's amazing math and science programs often hinder the brilliance of our other departments. One of the most thriving and successful components of the Stuyvesant culture is our music and art department. I would like to introduce the Stuyvesant Symphonic Band that includes several members of the class of 2015, as they will perform Richard Saucetto's Barn Dance as conducted by Dr. Raymond Wheeler, which will clearly demonstrate how well-rounded, talented, and hardworking Stuyvesant students are.
big thank you to the symphonic band, as well as Dr. Wheeler with that wonderful piece. Can we give them another hand? Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2015, I'd like to remind you all of something pretty obvious, but pretty wild at the same time. You're only a few speeches away from being Stuyvesant alumni. Yes, old people. Soon enough, we'll be the other kind of seniors, spending our glory days at our 40th high school reunion. Sure, we'll be off doing everything from acting, to investing, to becoming attorneys general by then. But many of us will have lost touch. Luckily, we have the Stuyvesant Alumni Association to reconnect us, no matter how old or how far apart we may grow. Here to welcome us to this family of over 35,000 strong is the president of the Stuyvesant High School Alumni Association and class of 1993 graduate, Soo-Young Kim.
Thank you. Class of 2015, my name is Soo Kim, and I'm the president of the Alumni Association. Well, it's hard to believe that almost 20 years ago, I was sitting there right with you, and I suspect that my story is similar to a lot of you graduating today, maybe other than the fact that I have 2 girls' names. Anyway, I was born in Korea, and I immigrated to Queens when I was 5, went to public school, and got into Stuyvesant. I commuted almost an hour and a half each way from Bayside to Lower Manhattan. But I didn't complain because that's the distance that forced us to be independent and resourceful. In school, I fenced, I played ultimate frisbee, and was on the chorus of the senior sing. While I had the great fortune of going on to Princeton, the bonds and memories that I made at Stuyvesant are still that much more vibrant. As I approached college graduation, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do other than to come back to New York. So I interviewed at a whole bunch of Wall Street firms for no other reason than I wanted to ride the 6 train carrying a briefcase and not a knapsack. And so that was 18 years ago, and I've been fortunate in my finance career. 8 years ago, I established my own firm, and here I am today. Well, 4 years ago, I joined the Alumni Association because I saw how effective Princeton was in connecting its alumni to mutual benefit and thought, gee whiz, wouldn't it be great if my great high school could do the same? In my class in 1993 alone, there's just a handful of people that come to mind, but there are many more than that. For instance, Graham Cohen was one of the kids that I met in my early days of the math team, which quickly made me realize I wasn't going to cut it in the it wasn't junior high school anymore. And so, he went on to invent BitTorrent, which is, the technology by which, most video is downloaded on the internet. I'm sure you know. Noah Tepperberg, who I remember, in the Sty Park and walking around giving out flyers to parties he was promoting back then. He's now, as owners of POW and Marquee, actually the greatest nightclub in First Area of our generation. I remember commuting regularly with Grace Meng, going back and forth from Queens, and now she commutes to DC as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. And this is my class alone, and these are just a few of the people that come to mind. I'm leaving out hundreds of very interesting stories. Imagine all the good that could come from all these alumni interacting together, sharing their experiences, helping one another, and paying it forward to future generations. But that was 1993, and today is your day. You are the latest of a long line of distinguished graduates. You are amongst the best this great city has to offer. I'm here to remind you, though, how fortunate you are. I know that sounds really crazy for all of those that thought high school was a huge pain in the butt. All the competition, I'm sure, the pressure, the schlepping, didn't seem like, I'm sure it doesn't, or did not seem like much of a privilege. But let me put this into historical context. Free compulsory education as a concept is no more than 150 years old. That means that back in the day, if you didn't have the right parents or you didn't have access to the right parochial institutions, you're out of luck. And even though Stuyvesant's about 100 years old, about 80 years ago, Stuyvesant adopted an entrance examination to help select students from throughout New York City, which New York City is the largest public school system in the country with over 1 million students. So to put it this way, or put it another way, in this great country that we live in, there's this great city, New York. And from this city, you've been selected to receive the finest education that we can offer you. Of course, things have changed over the years. Women were not allowed to Stuyvesant until 1969. I'm sure you guys know that Asian immigration into America was dramatically limited prior to 1965. But things change, and things will always continue to change in New York. But the one thing that links us all, and will link you forever, is your bond to this collective and shared experience of Stuyvesant High School. You've been selected again from this great city to receive the best that we can offer you. Having been so fortunate, you now carry a burden that comes from being the beneficiaries of this great privilege. On behalf of the Stuyvesant High School Alumni Association, we want to welcome you and wish you the best of luck in the next phase of your lives. We want to remind you that when you make something of yourselves and you're taking care of yourself and families, don't forget your greater family, your friends that you've met here, your school, and this great city of New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Su Young Kim. Without a doubt, it is obligatory that we thank our parents and guardians for all the work that they have done in being a part of our success. My parents have had the distinct pleasure of checking on me at 2 a.m. to see if I've fallen asleep over my work in order to wake me up with my favorite, scrambled eggs and oranges. Seriously, thank you, Mom, Dad, Shabir, Darryl, so much. I love you guys. It's only right that we acknowledge the hard work of those who have led our Parents Association, that has made our parents care, love, and comfort a parent at Stuyvesant by financing our various activities and mitigating stress. I'm proud to introduce the co-presidents of the Parent Association, Ms. Lynn Chen and Mr. David Van Bush.
Congratulations, because you get all the attention today, so I just want to say one thing. Please stay close with our parents. We really like to know more than you just need the money. And to the parents, congratulations. Now you have done drag them out of bed each morning. You're probably wondering who is doing that for you right now. I wanted to. Really. How they get up. But I do know they will get up. Go to classes and get things done. Because you have done a great job in raising them. So parents, thank you for volunteering your time, sharing your talents, donating your money to Parents Association to support our kids' education. You have done you have said an extraordinary thing for our kids. I have no doubt. Now they will go on to do extraordinary things for the whole world. Principals, vice principals, teachers, counselors, advisors, coaches, and all the school staff, thank you so much for everything you have done for our kids. Thank you.
The program says, greetings to the graduates, congratulations to the class of 2015. Today you've heard and you will hear inspiring words about your hard work and your dedication, and that is as it should be. But so I just want to take 1 minute to talk about the hard work and dedication of the parents who've been at that hard work and dedication for your success even longer than you have been. So I was where the parents are. Last year I had a son who walked across the stage. And so I can say, it's their day, it's also your day today. So thank you very much, parents. And how I know that they've been at work at your projects longer than you've been at work at your projects is that one of the very first projects that you had was learning how to go to the bathroom by yourself. And you guys weren't very interested in that project. In fact, you didn't want to do that project, and you didn't stay up all night doing that project. You fell asleep and continued with the way you had been doing the project. But the parents were very dedicated to that project, and then they had some selfish reasons for it, but mostly it was to make you a better person. And it's a person who's going to go out into the world today and have at least that skill. I don't know you all, but I think you all have at least that skill. So that's due to your parents. And I think you have a lot of other skills and qualities that are due to your parents. So parents, thank you. You've reached this plateau. Please enjoy the day today and enjoy it with your graduates, because it's very, very special. I can tell you, looking back a year from now. But I'll also tell you that this is a plateau, this is a moment of passing, and now is a time when, just as before, you didn't have to wipe their bottoms anymore, metaphorically, you will do a little less of that. I encourage you to from now on, because they are heading out into the world with the skills that you gave them. So parents, congratulations. Graduates, congratulations. Thank you very much, and have a great day and a great life.
That was so good. Thank you, Mr. Vanderbush and Ms. Chen. I would now like to point out that there's an incredibly hip man who sits on stage with us all. Unfortunately, during my 4 years at Stuyvesant, I haven't had the pleasure of being a student. But when students talk about their very hip, earring-wearing, guitar-playing teacher, there is only one person who comes to mind. In addition to striving to make his classes something to look forward to every day, he goes beyond the traditional role of an educator and shows how much he genuinely cares about each student. As young, malleable teenagers, it is not only imperative that we are well educated as far as academics go, but that we have adults to whom we can look up to and truly see glimpses of the person we aspire to be. No, I'm not introducing that man, but I have the great honor of introducing the Assistant Principal of English and our class-elected faculty speaker, Mr. Eric Grossman.
One of the best things about teaching English at Stuyvesant is that Unlike most other disciplines, we're not bound by any set curriculum. We could, if we chose, assign nothing but grammar worksheets, or all 7 volumes of In Search of Lost Time, or all 7 Harry Potter books. Don't hold your breath. We have remarkable freedom to teach the works we love and that we think are most likely to resonate with you, and the freedom to try new things every year. Last fall, Ms. Schechter and I taught Philip Roth's novel American Pastoral for the first time. In one of my favorite scenes, Roth's alter ego Nathan Zuckerman attends his 45th high school reunion. He'd stayed up the night before, composing a speech which makes his Newark, New Jersey high school class of 1950 sound not entirely unlike the Stuyvesant class of 2015. The children and grandchildren of immigrants, they were told, "You must not come to nothing. Make something of yourselves." In his speech, Zuckerman remembers that the goal was to have goals. The aim was to have aims. We were steered relentlessly in the direction of success. When he arrives at the reunion, Zuckerman is handed a booklet with blurbs about all his former classmates. Mendy Gerlich, retired restaurateur. Children, 36, 33, 28. Grandchildren, 14, 12, 9, 5, 3. This impulse to reduce each other to a kind of shorthand, what do you do? Where do you live? Is why it's so much easier for teenagers whose resumes are still unwritten to make new friends. And it's a big reason why I much prefer spending my days with you. Of course, you have your own shorthand for trying to understand each other. Test scores, college acceptances, GPAs. But as those of you who spent the last fall hoping that admissions committees would see past that data, those statistics don't offer much insight into the real you. American Pastoral is about the contrast between our inner selves and the way we appear or present ourselves to others. And I spent a lot of time thinking about how Stuyvesant is implicated in that process. Each September for the past few years, I've asked my sophomore classes to read a New Yorker piece entitled Live and Learn, Why We Have College. In it, Louis Menand, who taught English at Princeton and then at New York City University, describes a city student raising his hand and asking, "Why do we have to buy this book?" Most of you are too polite to pose this question directly, but we've all asked some version of it. From 7th grade on, I complained to my math teachers that I'd never used what they were trying to teach me in my adult life. And I never have. So, it's a fair question, Menand acknowledges, and an interesting one, because it conceals an even deeper question. What is the real purpose of a college or a Stuyvesant education? Menand presents 3 theories. Theory number 1 suggests that society needs a way of identifying its most capable and intelligent members and matching them with the right colleges and careers. If you buy into theory number 1, a school like Stuyvesant is essentially one big 4-year test, and grades are all that matter. Theory number 2 holds that school exposes you to information and ideas that help you to become reflective and culturally literate, which is, in some vague but important way, good for you personally and for society at large. Theory number 3 is that in order to get a good job, you need specialized knowledge and skills, and school is where you go to get these things. A lot of students, when I asked them to respond to the article, expressed some version of this idea. How is reading Sophocles going to help me to become a pharmacist or an engineer? Well, it's not. I'm sure that Stuyvesant has often felt like a hive of mixed messages. That really just reflects the grab bag of beliefs among your teachers, parents, the DOE, and the fact that it never occurs to most people to think about the question at all. I'm a theory number 2 man, but I've occasionally felt uncomfortable arguing for the intrinsic value of reading, writing, and talking about books to students who are, in many cases, the first members of their family who will attend college, or whose parents are depending on them to get high-paying jobs and to justify the sacrifices they have made. But last year I was teaching a story called The Death of Ivan Ilyich, and one of my students said something that clarified the question. Ivan's life, Tolstoy writes, had been most simple and most ordinary, and therefore most terrible. Ivan is successful, marries and has a family, buys a nice home, and takes pride in how he furnishes it. And yet, on his deathbed, he is tormented by the fear that he had not lived as he should. The hardest thing for Ivan, my sophomore suggested, is saying goodbye to himself. What she meant, I think, was this. As close as you are to your parents, or to your boyfriend or girlfriend, or even to your children when you have them, the most important and long-standing relationship of your life is the one you have with yourself. You are your own oldest friend, and whether or not you're paying attention to it, there is always a conversation going on in your head. That friendship, that conversation, can be deep, or it can be shallow. What makes Ivan Ilyich such a scary story is Ivan's realization in his final hours that he has been a poor friend to himself, that his pleasures and accomplishments, although they felt consequential enough at the time, were hollow, and that his lifelong conversation with himself has been ultimately an unsatisfying one. That class helped me to articulate what I believe to be the real purpose, the real value of what you've spent the past 4 years doing, developing deeper, more interesting conversations with yourselves. And, as Ivan Ilyich suggests, that is not a trivial matter. So, why should you buy or read The Great Gatsby, or The Death of Ivan Ilyich, or Hamlet? Why should you study Hannibal's March Through the Alps, or learn the difference between mitosis and meiosis? The truth is, beyond learning how to read, write, and do basic math, the vast majority of what your other teachers and I have to teach you is, strictly speaking, useless. But that doesn't mean it's without value. You are more than where you go to college and the jobs you will perform. When you reunite for your 45-year reunion, I hope that you will find more to talk about than your occupations and number of grandchildren. I hope that you will not be plagued by the nagging fear that you have not lived as you should. There's a story by the Argentine writer Jorge Luis Borges, in which he imagines that God made humans as a kind of network of antennae. Having created the universe, God wanted a way to experience it to its fullest, but being perfect and eternal could only experience eternity and perfection. Without us, how could God ever hope to feel elation and sadness, frustration and accomplishment? In Borges' parable, God doesn't need people so that he can do his job. He needs us in order to derive the deepest sense of satisfaction from the world. Ideally, that's what reading books and performing music and understanding math and learning history and practicing science and above all, talking with and listening to each other are meant to do, to expose you to ways of experiencing the world that you miss out on otherwise. At the last open mic this year, I performed with a bunch of other English teachers, all of whom I realized as I was writing this, I'd had the privilege of hiring and offering the same remarkable gift that I was given nearly 2 decades ago. I didn't choose to perform because I'm a secret Taylor Swift fan, or because I gauge my worth by my number of YouTube hits, or because I'm such a beast at step. And I certainly had plenty of other things clamoring for my attention. Papers to grade, observation reports to finish, a graduation speech to write. But the most important lesson that Stuyvesant has taught me is that it's the things that can't be standardized and quantified that are the greatest sources of happiness and the truest indicators of success. So, thank you for your funny and outlandish minutes gifts, and for sharing your writing with the other teachers and with me, and for giving me the great honor of representing the faculty here today. Thanks for being my antenna, and for making my own experience of the world and each other's so much richer.
Thank you, Mr. Grossman. Your dedication and connection to the class of 2015 is ever strong, and we thank you for all that you've done for us. So, remember a little earlier how I mentioned the Stuyvesant students are doing literally everything imaginable? Somehow they managed to keep high grades, close friends, and their sanity. Well, I'm about to introduce you to the poster child for this advertisement. She's one of the most driven, determined people I know. There is not one task too difficult for her to handle. She is kind, helpful, and supportive to those who know her, and even those who don't. She contributes to the Stuyvesant community in so many ways, from sing, to the theater community, to the Senior Advisory Council, and so many other ways. She can also bust a move on the dance floor, but today, she's being recognized as one of the brightest minds of Stuyvesant High School. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your valedictorian, Danielle Escott.
Dear graduates, Principal Zhang, honored guests, faculty, staff, parents, family, and friends, welcome and congratulations to the class of 2015. Thank you for giving me the honor of speaking today. While the rest of the senior class was enjoying their well-earned break, I was writing. I hope this speech will be less painful for you to hear than it was for me to write. So this is the culmination of the past 4 years. Every day for the past semester or so, I've told myself, I'm almost done. This will all be gone in just a few more days. High school will be over. I expected to feel, let's be honest, relief, but also a bittersweet happiness, some nostalgic regret. But the days went by as usual. I acknowledged the onsetting date of graduation, but could not quite grasp the consequences of that long-awaited day. Part of the reason why is that we kept moving forward. Time doesn't stop in order for us to reflect. I still woke up early to take the same trains to school. There were still final projects to complete, exams to take, coffee to sneak in. But standing here today, I realized that starting tomorrow, I'll never have to sneak in coffee again. It's true that we'll never be students in high school again. We'll never take a Regents exam. We'll never have our phones taken away. We'll never walk into senior atrium to find kids playing chess, hear the strums of the guitar, or see friends chattering away by lockers. But as different as the rest of our lives might seem from high school, some things will never change. I'll always write papers the night before, including I'll always be 5'1". And I'll always have butterflies in my stomach, my heart beating fast when I see a working escalator. The last 4 years were filled with memories that marked the happiest times of my life, and I'm so grateful to everyone who has been by my side. But those memories are ephemeral, fleeting, never to be repeated. Their transience makes them precious, but also makes me fear that once I leave Stuyvesant, I'll leave those feelings and discoveries behind. To quote Proust, the places we have known do not belong only to the world of space on which we map them for our own convenience. None of them was ever more than a thin slice, held between the contiguous impressions that composed our life at that time. The memory of a particular image is but regret for a particular moment, and Houses, roads, avenues are as fugitive, alas, as the years. If I'm a little shaky, it's because I'm standing on my tippy toes right now. Can't really reach them. Yeah, I know. I'm afraid that I've taken the last 4 years for granted. I'm worried that I'll never find a place quite like Stuyvesant, a place where I felt respected, where my opinions and thoughts meant something, where I was listened to, where I was encouraged to grow both by teachers and by peers, where I was challenged and motivated to challenge myself, where nothing felt out of reach. I'm afraid that to my friends, I'll get lost within the turmoil of new places and identities, that I'll become a photograph in a photo album that's only open once a year. That is the challenge I'm facing now and in the upcoming years. How to keep my memories of my time here vivid and real, how to capture every smile and every laugh. So if the memory of a particular image is but regret for a particular moment, this speech could either be a collection of regrets or a series of thank yous for making those moments so special. So I'd like to go with the thank yous. Thank you to my family for raising me and influencing me to become the person I am today. A special thank you to my sister Abby for dealing with my erratic, stress-related mood swings. I know those were difficult to handle. And to my brother Sam for believing that I could be a doctor, an author, an illustrator, a cook, a baker, and all at once. Thank you. Thank you to the teachers who have gone above and beyond to encourage, support, and inspire me. Dr. Greenwald, Dr. Ned, Mr. Kors, Mr. Shankar, Mr. Garfinkel, and yes, you too, Mr. Roseman. Thank you for your words of wisdom and kindness, and for opening up an entire world of possibility and discovery. Thank you to all the guidance counselors, especially Mr. Blum, Ms. Petrick, and Mr. Wong. Your doors were always open for advice, for reassurance, for unconditional support, and for candor. I don't know what I would have done without you. Thank you to the small communities I found here at Stuyvesant, my Great Books class, Big Sibs, the SDC, and of course, Sing. Thank you for including me in that circle of talent and dedication. Thank you to my friends for sharing the last 4 years of your life with me. I hope I have brought at least a fraction of the happiness, support, and laughter into your lives as you have into mine. You know who you are. I could point to that. Thank you to one very special person who edited all my papers, listened to all my terrible jokes, and stood firmly by my side no matter what. You always believed in me more than I ever could in myself, and I really could not have done any of this without you. Thank you, Tanny. Thank you to all of you guys. Thank you to the class of 2015. Thank you for the excitement and anticipation, for your reckless intelligence and relentless determination. Also, thank you for sharing with me all the heaviness, weight of expectations and doubts, and desire to continuously improve ourselves. What we perhaps lacked in a suburban school spirit and loud school colors and rowdy football crowds, we more than made up for in an unconditional understanding, and for that I am thankful. At Stuyvesant, to a question of how are you, I could answer with a shrug, and I'm okay, you know. And you guys would, because you were going through the same. No explanations were needed. We all knew the look of exhaustion, of sleep deprivation, of being overwhelmed. When the first round of college acceptances came in, of unexpected rejections and ambiguous deferrals, there was a palpable tension. In a place where goals have never been clear and a time dominated by the feeling that time was running out, loneliness and desperation came incredibly easily. When we put so much of our self-worth into numbers and places and a vision of a perfect future, the present becomes a burden. But it's always easier finding mistakes in others' actions and thoughts than finding ones in your own. So when I found so many intelligent, kind, driven people turn against themselves, beating themselves up for all the choices they made in the past 3 years, wondering where they went wrong, what they could have done better, I realized two things. How wrong we were, and how lucky I was to be surrounded by people like you. In times of stress and finals and college applications, I noticed the anxiety nestled between greetings and smiles on escalator rides. I noticed periods of quiet that were usually filled up with conversation on better days. Apologies for being out of it. But all these moments, experienced by friends, acquaintances, classmates, and even teachers, reminding me that I could have those moments too. The bad times reminded me of all the dedication and hard work and aspirations contained within these walls, and left me humbled and so much respect for everyone here. The kind words, words of encouragement and laughter, words from friends, classmates, teachers, guidance counselors, college counselors, put everything into perspective. Thank you for that. Over the past few days, and especially today, I think I'll be searching for closure. I want to see all the loose ends of unconnected strings finally come together, completing a neat circle, leaving meaning rather than regret. I'll be tempted to ask questions I've never wanted to ask, uncover old disagreements, say what I wanted to say for a year but never found the right time to. I guess we wait until the end because a new beginning is in sight. We are brave now because we have nothing to lose. The time doesn't quite work like that. The stories we started and the lessons we learned here will follow us and continue to influence us long after we can trace them back to their origin. I'm excited to see where these lines will take us and where they will reconnect once more. I don't know what the future holds, and uncertainty can be frightening sometimes, but it also allows for so much opportunity. As long as we are brave, a new, better beginning will always be within our reach. Thank you.
Okay, I know Dr. Wheeler has pulled the symphonic band seniors off stage so that they're ready to be announced as graduates. So in doing that, we're getting prepared to hand you your special case. I just want to take a moment to make mention. I know that at awards night I said that all of the awards are listed in the graduation program, and we did miss a name or two, and in particular, Brianna Liu. You have an award, as you know, under the heading of the class of 1982 Merit Scholarship, and I neglected to have that in there, so I do apologize. But the good thing is, if you look a little further into the book under the Alumni Association Awards, that same class of 1982 award is listed, and your name is there. So one or two I figure is not too bad. If I was a baseball player, I'd be batting 500, probably making millions of dollars. So I do apologize, but it's there. We didn't totally forget you. I'd like to thank most all of the people here today for helping get all of these arrangements together. Ms. Zhang, I want to thank you for your support. It allowed me some freedom as the senior advisor to operate as I could, and you offered help without question, and I do appreciate that. I'm truly grateful to the help and support that we received from the administration, from Ms. Rodriguez-Chabon, from Mr. Moran, from Mr. Wong, who is attending graduation today. Hey, Mr. Wong, good to see you. And all of the assistant principals and supervision who have helped facilitate a lot of what went on. Earlier, Ms. Zhang mentioned that she asked us to participate in the moment of silence at the passing of Ms. Eleanor Archie, former guidance AP and guidance counselor here for many years. At awards night, we were also very privileged to have a new award in the name of Abraham Baumel, a former principal who spent his whole career in education, helping students and just being this wonderful guiding light. He had also passed this year, so we did honor them with a moment of silence. But I would like to ask all of you to join me in a round of applause to celebrate the life that they gave to education and to I would not have been able to get through some of these other activities without the help of all the senior official class teachers. They've been with you for 3 or 4 years, and they made this event a lot easier. I'd like to thank my colleagues who are here today witnessing the graduation. Some chose to walk with us, and a few are, we also have a good handful up in the balcony who have spent many, many hours on your behalf. And so again, I do appreciate all that they have done. On a personal note, very personal note, I'd like to thank my daughter Chelsea, because she was here. She was Ms. Homeroom Teacher 7Z on Monday, helped me driving in the truck and everything the last couple of days, so it really kept me on the straight path. And Mr. John Louis, for all that he's done, he just keeps me sane during all this, and that's a major, major task. There are many assistants that help with graduation. They're in the booklet, but Mr. Colon, Mr. Rosen, I'm going to depend on Mr. Miller to come up and do double duty as we can get some help with the listing of the students as they come across. And there's one group that we never do get to thank enough, and I've heard it a lot today, but there'll also be a chance for you to stand up and stretch a little bit. I know you've been kind of stuck in that seat for a while. So I just want you to stand up, face the back, look for mom, look for dad, look for your grandparents. Just wave, shout, scream, holler, applaud. We love it. We do. There you go. They're out there. They can't hear it. Feel good? All right, sit down. We're ready to continue.